Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the League of Legends Anonymous podcast. It's I, your host, deep and sexy, Wise up Papa Smurf, coming at your eardrums, assaulting your canals. I'm sick as fuck. I don't know what the fuck happened. Yesterday, dude, maybe. Who knows?
It's gotta be COVID.
It's everything is COVID.
This
So
is Blake's last episode.
Yesterday I was recording, I just put out 338. An hour after I put that out, my voice was gone. I feel fine. My throat is fucked.
You sound like Jersey Mike. Like what I would imagine.
Like the guy makes
subs.
The sandwich maker.
Yeah. When they say, "Do I want it Mike's way?" I'm like, no, that guy's voice. Is
No.
Good.
I got you a sandwich right here. It's got the salami on it. You got a hot mustard. It's delicious.
I said it earlier. I'll say it again. You sound like what I imagine chlamydia would sound like if Disney animated it.
I would say the Jersey Mike thing. You're gonna get a sandwich from that guy because you'd feel uncomfortable not accepting the sandwich from a guy
really
like that.
aggressive
Comes
with the
on
sandwich.
strong. Hot mustard. Okay, but I, not normally into that. Now put it in your mouth. Put it in your mouth right now. You'll love it. It's a taste explosion all up in you.
Rejecting my gift.
That's the sandwich that has the questionable mayonnaise on it.
No,
I don't put mayonnaise on a sandwich.
I think this morning I sounded like the ghost of a smoker, and now I just sound like who's that actor I'm thinking of? Not Clint Eastwood. That's
Gary Busey?
way too
I'm
cool for
detecting
where I'm
some
at.
Gary Busey
There
in
is a good amount of Gary Busey in
some
there. I
Gary
need
in
to
there?
just start saying mentally unhinged shit. But no, there's a very specific Jersey style actor that has that rough and tumble voice. I'm pretty sure he's gay.
I think I know who you're talking about. He was in Mrs. Doubtfire. Was he?
Yes, he's Robin Williams'
Harvey
friend in Mrs. Doubtfire. Or whatever.
Not Harvey Weinstein.
No. Different guy.
Different
guy.
character there.
Yeah.
Harvey Firestein.
Is there a guy named Harvey Firestein?
Yeah.
Harvey Firestein is the gay man that you are thinking of.
How the hell did you pull that out of
Now we just need Harvey
I know.
Earthstein
I just
so
know
that
who
you
Harvey
can...
Firestein is. It's fine. I love Mrs. Doubtfire. It was a great movie.
I just know every gay actor with a grumbly
Look, man,
voice.
you get 5 that you're responsible for keeping track of if you want to maintain your license. It's like CLEs.
That's fair enough. I have to follow Harvey Firestein. But yes.
How about you? You're Harvey Firestein. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. But if you find Harvey Earthstein, you can have Earth, Wine, and Firestein.
Yeah, that would be excellent. Speaking of
perfect Harvey
what
band.
kind of rapes would their powers combine to form?
The very illegal ones.
Men, women, they're not safe. Nobody's safe.
It's
by your powers combined. I'm Captain Rape.
Hold on. The powers would be sexual assault, physical confrontation,
That's right.
and then still heart for some reason.
That was the worst thing about poor Monty, who was the heart in the original Captain Planet. He is now completely replaced with a cell phone. There is nothing that guy's powers could do
It talks
that an iPhone can't do.
Can your iPhone talk and calm animals?
In 20 years, yes. Yes, it will. Better than him.
It shoots out a subsonic frequency and all the animals.
It will. It will.
Okay. They get had the shittiest power, hands down.
That was pretty bad.
They spent 3/4 of the show trying to convince him that his power wasn't shit.
It's shit.
And it is total shit. Other people are shooting around rocks and fire and huge wave and...
That Asian bitch could have totally gotten fucking rich beyond her years by just pumping water into desert countries and just charging the fuck out of it. Just been fuck the environment. The yuppie version of her is just y'all want some water? Kiss the ring. I'm gonna need them diamonds.
You just got to make sure that you never accidentally summon Captain Planet while you're doing
true.
that. If the other ones showed up and you were like, water, and they're like, earth, wind, fire, air, heart. You're like, fuck! Like, I'm so fucked right now.
Fuck. God damn it. You people aren't getting your water now.
Did you ever notice that show is supposed to be about people from Earth polluting Earth, but one of the major villains is a rat man?
Who is that?
There's a rat man, like on, Rat Man on Captain Planet.
There's Captain Pollution. What a great one.
Yeah.
That was. Dr.
The
Blight.
Verminous Scum is his name.
Oh, he was a bad guy? Are you sure about that?
The
With a name like that,
with a
they
name
really
like
left it
Verminous
open
Scum.
to interpretation.
He is a humanoid rat man.
How do you like to be introduced by like that as kindergarten? No wonder this guy turned into a dick. It's like your parents named you Verminous Scum.
Yeah, you're fucked.
It's like, oh, I wanted to be a cam boy when I grew up, but
I mean,
it
your
just
last
wasn't
name.
happening.
There's no
No,
road.
you can make Camboy work out with it. Verminous Scum.
Dude, it doesn't
It
matter.
would just be really gross.
If your family name is Scum, you're fucked. You could be Jeff Scum, and it doesn't matter. You're still gonna be a villain. Like,
He was originally voiced by actor Jeff Goldblum, but after 5 episodes,
So, Jeff
Goldblum
Scum.
left the role and was replaced by voice actor Maurice LaMarche.
really?
Wow.
That's
I want to
interesting.
know what happened after the 5th episode. What was the tipping point for Jeff Goldblum here? Like, what happened? Was it like a positive one? Did like his agent call and was like, "Hey Jeff, I've got really good news. You can totally take a big steamy piss on the entire cast of Captain Planet. Come on, we're doing this thing called Jurassic Park." Or was it just like, Jeff won't stop doing the cocaine and we really need to fire his ass?
Captain Planet pays for his cocaine.
That's right. He got
Yes.
sent to rehab.
Those checks really help.
Him
Hey,
and,
so-
and Bam Margera
So, double
fired from their movie
in a
careers.
classic Lola oversight, we launched on a side thing and didn't introduce the new cast member,
Oh, yes.
Aero.
Oh, who?
Yeah,
Go-
exactly. Who?
There you go.
Just the random. My name's Aero. Some of you guys know me as Terrorized. I've been in the community, kind of like mostly in the background, but
Ooh.
I'll pop in community nights.
We're gonna stick with
Uh,
Aero because it
we're gonna
sounds
stick with
like
Aero.
yeah, like you
Are
guys
you the
know
former
me.
professional ADC Aero?
Yes, actually.
I knew it.
Yes.
I
yes.
knew it.
I've never been hard stuck in my life. I haven't. When it comes to League, I surpass pretty much everybody, and I also don't have an ego. So
Yeah, the only
yeah,
time you ever got hard stuck was wrist deep in your mom.
exactly. I couldn't get it out, and I had to call an ambulance.
Oh shit! Like
Yeah.
with your other hand, I'm assuming, or was
Nah,
it
he
your
made
phone
her-
hand that was up in
nah.
there?
No,
He made
no,
her
both of
call
them
the
were up there. It
ambulance.
had to be. It was with Alexa.
Oh,
Both of
there
them
you
were
go.
up
Good
there,
call.
And yeah,
Bezos saving the day.
100%.
Alexa, get this bitch off my wrist.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Harvey
yeah,
Weinstein, Jeff Weinstein, incest jokes. This is
we're starting. I mean, it's a banger
this is a
podcast for me
departure
to
from
like
the
start
particular
on for sure.
PG-13ish tones of when I randomly actually still tune in and listen to a random episode.
By the way, have you guys noticed that porn has gone completely like, "You're my sister" in like every video?
Every video,
Why?
every single video.
Hasn't happened in a single one of mine.
It's
So
it's-
weird.
Yeah.
In fact, there aren't any women in any of my episodes. It's the
That's weird.
strangest thing.
Well,
Must be cheaper
might
to
be
produce,
that might
I
be a
guess.
a
switch
lot
bar
of
issue for you,
Mormons. A lot of Mormons lately. I don't know what's in the water in Utah these days, but I want some.
Yeah, I've
yeah.
never.
For some reason, it went all the way to the step sibling thing. It's given
Yeah, I
me
don't-
and probably so many other people step
I had a
sibling
theory
fetishes, and
about
I
this.
don't have a step.
No, I know
or
exactly
anything.
what's going on. I had a theory about this. That during the lock-in, like, and the COVID stuff, like, nobody knew it, but during the lockdown, we were living in a golden age of incest. All of the families were like locked down, and you know, like, I'm not talking like, I mean, stepbrothers and stepsisters too, like mostly that, but like, there was some 14-year-old boy who's just like got the new hot stepsister moved in and he just wants to fuck her because they don't have that kind of relationship, and he's like confused about it, and he's like praying to God. He's like, God, I feel so conflicted. My dick says yes, but my heart says no. Like, I need a sign.
If
Can
there
you
was
send me a
only-
sign that it's okay
This
to
is
fuck my
really
stepsister.
specific.
Yeah, if only there was a
And then God's
plethora.
like, all of your families have to stay in the house 24/7 for 6 to 8 months. And he was just like,
That's it.
thank you,
There
Lord.
it That's my answer.
The kid's like, I need a sign. If only there was a plethora of front page videos on every porn site ever.
On every site.
I would know that this was meant to be, right?
It's actually kind of like unnerving that there is a porn meta. Like, it changes every once in a while.
Well,
And
LS would be the
it's-
one to break that too.
Yeah, it's in the step sibling like meta right now. And
See, I have a theory on this. I have a theory that like big porn got involved, and they were like,
Right.
hey, like I'm a guy who produces niche porn, which is what my voice sounds like right now.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Is a guy who produces okay, so you won't have to imagine very hard when I'm explaining this.
Your,
if I'm
your
a guy,
porn mogul name is now Les Skidsmore.
that's right, baby. This is Les Skidsmore. Let's tell you how it's done with the pornos.
That's short for
So-
Lester, by the way, just to be clear.
Yeah,
Mo Lester.
a Brooklyn mafia accent sounds really good with that voice that you have
Mhm.
paired.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something here.
So, let me explain to you how this shit works.
Please.
I made a bunch of incest porn because I thought it was going to be the next big thing of, you're my stepsister, oh, you're my brother. Turns out, very niche market. So what do? I go to Pornhub and I say, I will give you $100,000 if you put these videos on your front page for like a month. And then people who go there are like, damn, is all of America into incest things? Okay, I guess. And then they watch it, and then it stays relevant because you forced your way to the top of the stream.
I can't. I mean, that sounds pretty logical.
No,
I
I mean, that's how most things
EDM
start.
producers did that a lot. They used to buy all the tracks. They would buy their own releases and put them at the top of the charts so that everybody would pay attention to them and buy them.
Yeah, and so that's my theory of what they did with incest porn, which has left America in a situation where we all look at our neighbors and we're like, is everybody into incest porn? And no one really is.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking of neighbors, that was the last meta.
We
it
were
was the
talking about
neighbor porn.
neighbors.
Yeah,
we were talking about
exactly.
neighbors.
That was the last meta, and now it's evolved into step sibling porn.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was the last meta for me. I think it was on
Man,
my recommended page
I
all the
hope your
time.
mom is like overhearing all of this. I mean, we've established that she was in the house earlier, and we could hear
I
her.
hope not.
She's just like, what is he doing? Oh my god!
He's
in a
talking
porn
about
podcast.
he's talking about pornography with
told-
a
He told me it was a League of Legends podcast, but I knew that shit was way too nerdy. to
one
be
of those
real.
guys sounds like a real porn developing scumbag.
You do sound like that.
You
You
do.
sound like the
Yeah.
director at like Brothers or some shit.
Right, right. And you should probably elaborate on that while you take off your pants.
Well, I didn't know it was that kind of podcast, but I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
up for anything now.
I mean, here's my thought. The next meta in porn is, League of Legends podcast porn. So I'm gonna front page this shit. Just turn all the videos into porn and
You
monetize the
people
fuck
give
out of it.
America a lot of credit. I'm gonna go with Ukrainian invasion style porn. Like,
Oh, that would be
I
a
think
good
that's
one.
That's
probably,
true.
That's relevant as
I think
fuck.
getting ahead of the meta on that one
Yeah.
is gonna be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always the
And it could
I
go
mean-
both ways. Maybe it's like the Ukrainians capturing the hot female battalion. and
Oh
they surrender.
no! We got lost behind enemy lines without
Right.
any
Oh,
of our
Putin
shirts.
Made us. I don't know what accent we're doing here, but
I don't know either. I want to hear
I
yours.
just
though.
default to German when I talk about.
I
sexual
can't do an
warplanes.
accent right now that's not scumbag porn guy. Like, my voice is fucked. I can't do it.
Putin forced me into the army. Will you force me out?
With these tight army shirts on, my bosoms.
I am defector. I have the access codes right here.
I need to be invaded.
That's right.
Nice. So, yeah. All right.
You're not going to introduce me? People don't even know who the fuck I am.
Everybody knows who the
Yeah.
fuck you are.
People don't even know about the legend.
All right. I will not introduce
Legends
you.
don't need introduction, but you know.
But I will introduce your shirt.
Oh,
It's,
oh
it's,
okay. Yeah. Fuck
fucking-
that daddy shirt.
Double's finally wearing the Cat Daddy shirt.
Finally fit into it.
Yeah. Which means that he's hit the level of weight loss where he looks like he has a drug problem.
Oh, I've enough people knew me when I was fat and had a drug problem that's just like a sign of the times. Like it's just, there's just
like,
I can straddle that.
It's really
I
gotten
can make
bad.
that look natural at any weight, unsafe at any speed.
You're to a point in your weight loss where people are having interventions. It's like, dude, it's got bad. You need to get off the hard shit.
Yeah, you need to eat a sandwich.
I can't. I can only eat half a sandwich. It's terrible.
Yeah, Double actually pointed out that now that he's lost a lot of weight, he actually looks like my doppelganger. And that's somewhat creepily true.
Especially when the camera goes out of focus a little bit. Like,
yeah, on Squadcast right now, you guys are like stacked on top of each other for me, so it's like like a mirrored image.
Oh, you should see what we look like stacked on each other on Pornhub.
You have
that's my brother. Yeah,
that's right. That's the brother porn right there.
Yeah, because we can pass at this point, and I can produce it. Because
it's some of Blake's best support work. Let me tell you. Very generous guy. Lots of assists.
Very few kills.
Very few kills.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times. Picking up right where we left off.
Yeah, speaking of busting nuts, League of Legends. Well, I know you wanted to talk about the LCS last week.
It's like the only relevant thing that I can talk. I've only played. I swore off the game for like 5 months, and then got tired of Apex Legends, and so I've been playing
Same
again, which has been all right. Like I've not been even remotely obsessed with playing at all. It seems to be a very healthy sort of wavelength in terms of I don't give a fuck. I want to play optimally, but I don't care. I don't have enough sample size to really care about anything. Like I've played 15 games. I can win some games with Warwick. He feels really weak late game, and all the games seem to go really late. But I don't have a lot of play time this season. But it does seem that I dodged a bullet in terms of being able to contribute because Riot didn't fucking change the game in 6 or 7 months. It seems to be the exact same experience for us that they just didn't change.
Kim Tech Drake is gone.
Oh, they got rid. That's right. That's right.
That's about it.
The season can be summed up in the Pawn Stars meme. It's like, hey, can I get a brand new like preseason? It's like best we can do is a Hex Tech
Drake. Yeah. The best one.
Removing that Chemtech gave me hope in Riot Games because that needed to go.
The best version of that meme I saw was a guy who was like coffee, right? And it's like Galaxy's like, a guy coffee, I need some energy. And he's like, best I can do is poop.
Poop, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, let's talk LCS.
All right.
What are you fired up about? I'm gonna get something to drink because at this point I need it. I'll be right back.
Oh shit. Okay, because I wanted to get another drink too. So the season's been actually really, really interesting so far. There was a lot of crazy good shakeups, and the pro meta kind of saw the big triumvirate switched out. A little bit disappointing about what happened with Cloud9, but for the most part,
I'm still in the dark about that. I still don't understand kind of why they took that route.
I don't think anybody does, and
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue from what I can gather is we're like. So I'll touch on that a little bit, but like there's a lot of good reasons that we don't know and we'll never know, and they may not be good reasons, but they're very compelling reasons.
That's interesting. I want to hear your take on this because I literally just recorded an episode on it. It's the last episode. I talked a lot about LS and shit. So
yeah, and I disagree with you. I mean, I think you get a C+ on this on your call. By the way, I know you were all like, I told everybody this was going to happen. I told you. It's like
I fucking did. I fucking did tell you.
No. You painted a different picture when your prediction was like, they will crash and burn. He will mentally implode. He'll fucking throw a temper tantrum. They'll have to talk him off the ceiling at Riot Games. Mel Gibson will handcuff himself to him, and they'll hop off onto the suicide thing, and then he'll move back to Korea. 30% of that was true.
100%.
What? Like,
Yeah,
okay,
their record was fine. They were winning games. That's my point.
their
It's like,
record, it doesn't fucking matter. They played against bottom tier teams. They
yeah,
only had
it's
one
we're in
game.
the NA. Everything's a bottom tier
That's
team in NA. Like,
No. I'm saying the teams that they played against are tied for sixth, and one is tied for third. They lost to Liquid, which would be a
yeah,
top tier
everybody's
team.
gonna lose to Liquid.
Right,
Liquid's just
that's
a
what I'm saying.
powerhouse.
They lost to a powerhouse, but a game they should have won, they lost. So right now, while they're tied for first, with LS, they were, 3 and
Yeah,
1.
but they didn't
But they
lose that
should
game
have
because
won
of
2 of
LS.
those
They
games.
like the game that they lost was because Blabber is just not comfortable on Karthus. Now, is that a coaching error or is that a Blabber error? I think that's a different thing. But if Blabber takes 2 steps back and doesn't get interrupted on his ult channel, that team fight that they lose is a totally different perspective.
Right.
They lost that game because his ult got interrupted and he couldn't do the fucking nuke at 45 minutes that Karthus does. Now, I'm kind of happy with that because Karthus Jungle is a fucking abomination, and it should have been deleted from possibility a long time ago. But that's neither here nor there. But I in a more general sense, and we can dive into the LS stuff. But I just think that the season has been really cool. Like I'm happy with what FlyQuest is doing. I'm sort of underwhelmed by what EG is doing. I was hoping we get more of that, but I think that they're still learning their stuff. LCS standings just to make sure because I got really into skiing, so I don't have the weekends that I usually have. But yeah, Liquid and Cloud9 are tied for first, and then you've got FlyQuest and 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians, big shocker, in a 3-way tie for third, fourth, and fifth. Golden Guardians has put up a good fight. FlyQuest has put up an interesting fight, and Immortals is up there too. The rest of them, I expect Evil Geniuses to kind of bounce back, but Evil Geniuses it's I don't know. Danny seems to be putting up good numbers in terms of team fight damage, but I think this is my theory, is that Vulcan was a mistake for that squad because I'm pretty sure who was their last support? Who was the support last season? I can't remember what his name was. It Huhi? No, that's 100 Thieves. No,
that's
EG's.
Yeah.
Who was EG's support last year? Ignar?
I think, or was that
Ignar's
FlyQuest?
still on their team as the academy support.
Okay, it was Ignar.
Okay, that was Ignar.
See, I have a theory that Danny and Ignar were fucking. Because Danny said a lot of things about how good looking Ignar was and seemed to have like fuck me eyes. Homeboy's Homeboy's in the club. And I think that like he had a synergy with Ignar that old French Canadian Vulcan hasn't. Maybe Vulcan's just not giving up the poutine. Maybe that's the problem. I think Vulcan needs to let Danny suck his dick. And if that happens, we will see a resurging Evil Geniuses squad. That's my theory.
That's an interesting take.
That's a very interesting
I tried to get on to Hotline League, and they didn't pull my call. Can you believe it?
That's so weird.
I know. Marks is
yeah.
such a homophobe, man. Unbelievable.
Fortunately, you have a platform here, so go ahead.
No, I mean, like their squad is built for summer, and it makes sense. Like there is absolutely no point, which is one of the reasons I'm kind of happy with spring is that there's just no point to spring, at all, and they still haven't incentivized it for any reason other than winning it all the way, and getting to MSI. So why not why not refine and take chances with JoJo and get rid of Jensen? I thought that was a smart move. Kept Impact, that was a smart move. And then I'm really happy with Inspired. I think they just need their time, but that's been the biggest disappointment is probably EG, but I do think that they'll bring it around. And they're still fun to watch. Golden Guardians has been really fun to watch. Pride Stalker is an interesting, like the Jungle Zed picks are pretty fucking fun to watch him, especially when they eked out that crazy win a couple weeks ago. I remember. I'm still fuzzy on the details, but he just fucking annihilated them and had like what 17 was it 17 kills? He had a lot. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but it's just been fun.
What's your thoughts on TSM?
TSM, oh my god, what a fucking shit show. And I knew they were going to crash and burn from the get-go, and here's why. I knew they were in trouble when you cannot clean house. in an organization where you have a dictator like Reggie with the reputation that Reggie has, you cannot clear out that much upper management and be successful because they changed too much. They changed too much and they changed not enough. They needed to fucking just like disconnect Reggie from this shit. And he's being a little bitch about it too. He's like, "Oh, I'm too busy concentrating on my other multi-million-dollar teams. I can't worry about league." It's like that's a cop out right off the get go. Number one. Number two, you're Jerry Jones. You're like the GM that needs to have his fingers in all the pots, and you're a fucking relic, and you're not qualified to do anything. You just happen to be in this position. But so much of the upper management skill set, in my opinion, had to be managing Reggie's fucking tongue lashings and being a support system and holding the glue together of a very toxic owner, right? And if you get rid of all the people that that have that ingrained into their skill set, and you bring in new people that don't have that skill set, you're going to be set into an emotionally discharging environment.
So it's interesting to me. Do you remember whenever like the guy, it was like the owner of like I think it was either the 76ers or the Clippers, who went on that like racist tirant, and then
the Clippers.
They
I
replaced
do not
him.
remember that. Wow.
Yeah, they like replaced it. NBA was like, sell your shit, right? Like you're out, right? It feels like TSM did the opposite of that. Like they had the guy who went on a racist tirant, and they're like, everybody else is out of the organization but that guy.
And then like the cherry on top for that argument is that another organization did have a guy who was fucking racist, and they legislated that guy out to force out Rick Fox, the one black owner in the league, because that's exactly what happened to Echo Fox. Yeah. It's like they found some controlling partner, and fucking Rito's like, "Hey, you've got 48 hours to completely reorganize your board. By the way, this guy has a controlling vested stake in this entire organization, but you guys will work it out. But if you don't, you're out of the league." It's like, what planet are you guys living on where this can happen? Like, it's not how life works in business.
It was funny because, like, it was Steve, Liquid Steve, posted a tweet that said, if my team ever becomes like TSM, I would never let that happen. I'd sell my house, I'd sell my car to sign the best talent, to do blah, 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 because we would just never be like TSM.
Wasn't that Andy?
Yeah, wait. They're like, it's a dead org, blah, blah, blah. And everybody went apeshit on it. He was quoting Andy's tweet about CLG from like 2 years ago. Like directly copy pasted and just changed out CLG for TSM. And so there's like all this like back and forth about like, oh, Andy's out here selling his house, selling his car to try to sign talent. Of course he's not doing that, but fucking weird.
So you've got that organizational structuring issue with a toxic owner and people who have the skill set to control him and contain him and to nurture players who are not used to dealing with him. And that's all been replaced with people who presumably don't know what they're doing. I do like Dominic. He did a really good interview on Hotline League, and he's like, look, I come from these industries. He's a very qualified upper management guy. He's like, look, we're changing the organization. It's going to take time. So, I mean, I don't think that they're sort of just nuking it without a backup plan. I think that they are going to take time. But you've also got this.
You have who? Dom?
No, there's Dom and Dominic. Dom is a different exec. It's very confusing, but they made a point. So TSM's new like VP in charge of league operations is a guy named Dominic. He's from Germany, and did a whole bunch of venture capitalism stuff and managed some other esports leagues with like EDG. I think he managed or was like the head of operations for EDG or Gen.G, one of the big Korean orgs. And he gave some time to Travis and Marks on their podcast and was pretty good. And Travis was talking about like previously when we wanted to talk to TSM players, we always got a cold shoulder or people didn't respond. And so they are changing some of the culture in there. Who knows how much of that is lip service, but Bringing in Chinese players on top of that, they're like, oh, well, people speak Mandarin. I'm like, that don't fucking matter, man. I speak English, and people in Mississippi speak English. That doesn't mean we're going to be the same culture or speak the same fucking language. Like
Going down Bobby Boucher.
it's a big fucking country, man. It's got all these little idiosyncrasies and culture and whatnot, and it's going to take a while to get that many people on there. But what worries me is a point that I heard earlier today, listening to some other content, was somebody had mentioned that like you can only, if you're a major organization, you can't afford one fall from grace, because the reason TSM was able to attract the talent that it did was because it was TSM. That they got it. It wasn't that the great players made TSM great. It was the greatness of TSM attracted them better talent for cheaper rates, because you knew you were going to finals, you knew you were going to worlds, you knew you would have this exposure, you knew your streaming rates would be, boosted back when that was a big chunk of your revenue income was also streaming. And now that they're at the bottom of the league and they've got this reputation with Reggie, and like even Bjergsen, who seems to be the nicest fucking human being in all of esports, was like, nope, sorry, I'm out. I'm taking my Swedish ass or wherever he's from, going to your arch nemesis.
Danish.
Yeah, whatever. He fucking, it's like, hey, I'm gonna take all your secrets over to Liquid. We're good. Appreciate it. I'm gonna sell my ownership interest in this organization and then talk about how much I want to get to you. That's a problem.
The funny thing is, like, he sold TSM right before it collapsed completely. Like, not only was it like, fuck you on the way out, but it's like the most savvy business decision that could be made.
Well, I don't think he could have fucked that up, because anytime an icon foundational gemstone, it's like if Michael Jordan owned the Bulls. It didn't matter where the stock value was. It's always going to make him look good if he has to sell before he leaves, because once he leaves, the value's going to tank. But and then double fucking did them raw dog and was like, fuck Reggie, here's what happened. And you just got all these really influential figures in the scene shithousing your organization. And one of the best things that's happened this season is the CLG TSM game being named El Asico. I don't know if you heard that one.
I did not.
Oh, it's so good.
Who did that?
Marx is the first one I heard it from, but it's, for those that don't know, the big rivalry in Spanish football is Real Madrid versus Barcelona, two world-class clubs that are just badass, and whenever they fight each other or play each other in soccer, it's called El Clasico. And since these two teams were the shithouse bottom of the toilet bowl, people were calling this El Asico.
That's outstanding.
Oh, it's good. But what do you think, Aero? I'm giving you a segue.
I'm just I mean, I've kept my ear kind of to the curb a little bit. I've been kind of busy, but I've kind of the reaction that I've had to all of it, especially with both of these orgs now having like two of the biggest orgs like in esports having like a bunch of drama, is, first off, I don't understand how Reggie is still there, even and I mean, like,
because he actually owns the org.
Right. I just would think that, don't they have like a board or something like that could have voted him off or something?
I think that like they took in, like, everybody else went the venture capital route, and TSM was strong enough as a brand, and they actually made money selling merch and shit, that he could just afford to continue to own it without selling out to Disney or whatever.
Yeah,
so he is his own boss. If anybody's replacing him,
aren't they like in a huge partnership with like FTX now? Like, couldn't FTX boot him? Huh?
No, they can't boot it. They don't have an ownership interest. They have a sponsorship deal.
Okay.
Now they could, if they were smart, they would have dug in certain performance-based initiatives that would allow them to back out of that deal. But Reggie would be a fucking idiot to give up any kind of controlling stake of his company.
Well, that's the bottom line. That's what surprises me about it, is that he still has control of this company, and it's still like thriving or whatever. It just, even like dating all the way back to like the Dyrus video when he was just flaming the shit out of Dyrus, like, if what surprises me about it is that the verbal abuse that it is in there, is not only a verbal abuse, but his logic that he's using against Dyrus was just flat out brain dead. Everything that he was saying was like completely contradictive to itself, and like I just didn't. I was never able to understand how that was able. He was able to build this like empire of a company, and maintain it with that sort of not only attitude but just mindset.
No, I mean, I'm with you on that. What you need to understand is that, like, sorry, you don't need to understand it. This is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. There are people, and I've done this. You know, I do this weird ass martial arts stuff, and there are people. You have to have different styles for different people. There's some people that respond better to a more nurturing environment, but there are some people that actually do seek out and want a more toxic coach because
Oh, I'm like that
it
too
pushes
as
them.
far as
So,
that. No, that I'm all for like I it's an unpopular take, but I've actually constructed my own term for it where I call it constructive bullying.
mm-hmm.
I'm I do I'm in like a teaching field, and I'm supposed to be able to gauge how I teach a student based on how they receive it. So if they're more of a person that um, just likes positive reinforcement, then I have to implement that. But surprisingly enough, a lot of people like at least a little bit of abrasiveness and a little bit of like hey, stop being a fucking dumbass type of like teaching method, and it's very effective. And so the thing about Reggie it didn't just feel like that. It just felt like what he was saying was like he kept drilling Dyrus, saying like why are you like bringing this up? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And it's like as he was saying that, it was like everything he was telling Dyrus was fucked up to do. He was doing in that moment, in and of itself. Like it just that's what to me is like I didn't understand how he was able to continue with that. That's always been a clip that I was never able to understand. But I mean that's old
I mean,
news. But
in
Mm-hmm.
the early days of League, before everything was about toxicity, um, feedback like was harsh and negative, and that was considered to be honing uh, and
that's true.
and almost a form of constructive criticism, even though it was incredibly toxic. Uh, it wasn't until League kind of recognized its own toxicity and started like pointing at certain big figures and saying, "Hey, like that's too much," right? That it be like I don't know. The scene became aware that the way that people were talking to each other, particularly at the highest level, was not constructive at all, and it was actually very destructive. But the idea was if everybody talks like that and they're all at the highest level, then it must be constructive because they're all good,
Right.
right? And I think that that was built on kind of a fallacy of logic. And I think now that you've got more like, well, one, the like sports psychologists and shit, they get in there and talk about performance and what people need to keep their performance high. You have people who like the burnout coaches and shit like that to try to keep your practice efficient and not just spamming, right? Like all of these things have come into play to try to optimize performance in a way that was counter to how we did it. You know, like it was a very drill sergeant mentality 5 years ago.
Right.
Plus, the other thing is like I think the stakes are a little bit higher and the energy is a little bit different because the environment's different. I mean, nowadays you have these giant gaming complexes. Presumably, people go to their houses or their apartments and then come to work. Whereas back in the game house, I mean, dude, you've got I'll play devil's advocate because I think Reggie's a piece of shit, but at the same time, like you've got 18, 19-year-old males who are presumably, in my opinion, probably socially developmentally delayed because if you spend 8 hours a day playing video games throughout your teenage years, you're going to not have the same skill set that most
Oh, for
other
sure.
outbound kids are. So they're probably dealing with a social level of a 15 to 16-year-old, all living in this house. I think, not knowing whether or not you're going to have these $1 million company knowing that this is going to work, knowing that this is going to happen, adds a little bit of a pressure. And I think it takes a certain, I'm not surprised that some people think it takes a certain energy to keep a living situation like that orderly. Or when you're I mean, I remember on the Medio show, he was talking about the C9 game house, and he was like, yeah, there are these unfortunate moments when that happen when a bunch of guys live together. And this one time, High was in the moment. He was in his room doing what guys do when they're alone in their room, and apparently Lemon Nation, like, didn't have his glasses on, and like High's room was also like where they were doing laundry. So High's just jerking it, and Lemon Nation apparently walks into the room and just starts grabbing his laundry, not knowing what's going on. And High's like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?" Lemon's like, "Just get my laundry, chill the fuck out," and then just walks out of the room. Meteo's totally outed him on the stream about that.
I saw that. That was hilarious.
Fantastic.
That would have, that'd be scarring.
Yeah, so you've got energy like that, to contend with too. It's like,
by no means do I think. Like I said before, constructive bullying. Like, I mean, anything competitive that I've done or played in or done, like, competed in, and let me preface that by saying, like, it was never anything serious, but anything that I did always had, like, the mentors they weren't there to sugarcoat it for me, or they weren't there to sugarcoat it for anybody else. There had to be, like, if you sugarcoat it, you get this, like, false sense of reality of, like, what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And so I understand completely there needs to be a blunt, like, hey, that was fucking stupid.
All right.
Changes.
So I coach and have coached, like, kids soccer for years because, like, well, one, I was a high school soccer player. I thought that was a cool way to give back. Then I was a dad, and so I was coaching my own kids' teams as they get older and whatnot. And, like, I was there, we were early for a practice, and there was this lady coaching her kids' teams, and these kids were, like, she was trying to show them how to kick it right, and they were not doing that at all. And she's like, "Oh my God, Timmy, you're doing so good." And I'm like, you do not, like, don't praise him right now. He's fucking up left and right. He's gonna actually hurt himself because he's kicking it, like, with his toe. Like, that's not soccer. That's not what you do. You have no control. It's a great way to, like, kick a molehill and break all of your toes. You need to be telling the kid, like, wait, no, this is how you do it. And then when he does it well, then you say, great job, Timmy, you did well, right? Like, positive reinforcement is only reinforcement when you're building on something, right? Like, on the other hand, I wouldn't be like, "Timmy, you stupid piece of shit, get back here, kick the fucking ball," like that's not gonna do
Not
it.
again.
Not again. Yeah. I would pay to watch that. Watching Blake yell at toddlers for an hour.
Called the kid a stupid piece of shit. Go, "Hey,
Fucking
Timmy,
moron.
I want you to go find your parents and make them apologize to you for making you into such a weak little pussy piece of shit. Get back here and kick this fucking ball."
Kick it.
"I don't know, Mom. My coach sounds like he makes porn. I don't know what to do. He sounds like he's chlamydia from Osmosis Jones. I don't know. It's terrifying. How come I can do that voice and no other voice?"
You got that voice. You got a Timmy voice, and you've got a porn director voice.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Butterbeans commented that Nice is good at flaming people.
I was going to touch on that.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that right there?
All right. First of all, I've been coached by Nice a bunch. Like, he got me out of gold. No, wait, he got me out of silver. I don't know. I got a bunch of coach. So he releases videos. What people need to realize is that the videos that he releases are typically skewed towards the flame wars, because what he wants in good content are resistant people so that he can get, that's his niche, right? He is not like that way. He is not that way unless you earn it. All right. If you go into his coaching sessions defending your dumb shit propositions and not, like, respecting the fact that you paid a man to tell you what to do, and then you're not going to do it, like lawyers, like, maybe you're a fucking idiot. Like, why do you pay me to tell you what to do and then you do the opposite? I still don't understand it. I just don't understand it. So I've gotten coaching sessions from him, and like right from the get go, I told him, I was like, hey, if I disagree with you, when I tell you what I'm thinking or why I'm doing something, I'm not reinforcing that I disagree with you. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. What I want you to know is what's going on in my mind, so that if there is an underlying bigger fundamental misunderstanding of the game, we can address that instead of dealing with each game instance by instance. I would much rather understand broader concepts of mistakes and bad habits that I'm making. And he was totally cool with that. And I never got yelled at by him. He was never. I mean, I feel like I'm very teachable. I've done a lot of teaching and coaching and training and been trained. So it's like I went into this like, I got an hour, we're going to make this work. So if I tell you this, I'm not disagreeing with you. This is just, I want you to fix my brain if I'm wrong. And most of the time, it's like, no, I can see why you would think that. Here's just a better way to think about this or that. So yeah, he does have a lot of content where he flames people, but he's going to do, Nice is going to do, in terms of releasing those videos, he's going to do what's best for his algorithm, not what's best for the students. So I don't think that the folks who are getting chewed out in those videos are necessarily the best example of his teaching prowess, as much as it's the best way to get clicks, likes, and subscribes, because that's how he pays the rent. The best thing he's done is to show us that he has a cat and put the cat on the screen. I was very happy to find out that he did own a cat.
I like the Gentle Quinn video.
The Gentle Quinn video is fucking good. And the sweaty man penis. What was it? What was the guy's name? Do you remember this? He found this guy. There was this somewhat famous Malphite, or this guy was getting fucked in lane by Malphite. And this kid's name was like Sweaty
or something.
No. His name in the game was Penis Juice. It was Sweaty Penis Juice.
Sweaty Penis Juice.
Was this guy's name? It's a summoner name.
That's a good summoner name.
And he was a meme because like this Malphite kept fucking this kid. And the kids on the video was like, Malphite's useless. He's useless. Malphite is like 17-0 and just hits a button and the whole team just dies. And the kid is just in denial about it. So Nice like hit the waves and was like, somebody find me this kid. Find me Sweaty Penis Juice. I'm gonna boost him. I'm gonna duo Q boost him to diamond just to prove to you bitches how stupid Dynamic Q was. And he did it. And he made a whole series of like boosting Sweaty Penis Juice. It was fantastic content.
Oh, that was the kid that was like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Yeah, he's like, this is like, no, Malphite's huge. He's like, nah, he's useless. He's useless.
Yeah, and he's like
he
he's just gonna kill you again.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Didn't happen. Didn't matter. He was the reality denial guy. From that
Yes.
Getting to a point where
That's
you have to
what Nice
gaslight
called
yourself
him.
in League of Legends.
Nice called him reality denial guy because I think Rito changed his name, but his original summer name,
No,
I'm pretty
no.
sure was
It was his
Sweaty Penis
friend.
Juice.
His friend posted a Reddit thread that was like, my friend plays Malphite and is completely like has reality denial. And then on the video, the friend's like, the guy just kills him and he's like, he killed you. He's like, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, it's fine. He didn't do anything. He didn't do a goddamn thing. Doesn't even matter. He's like,
He's useless. He's
he's
useless.
useless. And he's like, he's gonna come back and kill you again. And then he doesn't even have ult. Bam! Like ults him. And he's like, this bullshit. Like
The only time I've seen somebody claim that somebody was more useless was when I was working my internship in the DA's office, like before I graduated law school. And there was this public defender who's dead now, which is good for justice, because he was terrible. And his name was McNulty. And like this guy was from New York, and he's in an orange jumpsuit, and he's chained, and they have him chained like they have a waist chain, and then he's handcuffed here.
Before you met him, was he a cop on the wire?
I don't know. No, McNulty was not that cop. He was nowhere near the wire. This guy was a dumbass. And, like, he really was a huge inspiration for me on a personal level because I graduated in the biggest recession that we'd seen in a long time. And I said, you know what? If this guy can fucking make money doing this job, I know I can. Because right now, I haven't taken the bar. I'm a better attorney than this motherfucker. And, like, so this guy is like, Yana, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what we're doing. I know one thing. I know I need a new attorney. He's useless. He's useless. He's useless. Get him out of here. He's useless. I don't know if you can see this Let me make sure.
I can
Yes,
see it.
okay. You
Yeah,
can see it.
I
The
can
Twitch
see
viewers.
this. Yeah.
So he's just doing that the whole time. And like all three of the interns, and my sister was the DA. I was working under my sister. She was speaking of going back to what we were talking about with the videos.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, my sister's a DA. And we're just all standing there watching this guy make probably the best argument, the most grounded argument that we've seen all day, and that his attorney McNulty was completely fucking useless. Because my sister was like, you know what? That's the best argument I've heard all day, because that motherfucker is completely useless.
All right, I would tell a story about being useless myself. The very first mistake that I ever made as a lawyer, right? So my boss tells me that I need to go to this Friday morning case. And Friday morning in this particular jurisdiction was always a docket call. And for those of you that aren't lawyers, which is probably everybody, but anyway, a docket call is just
I know what docket call is. I'm going to get a drink. I'll be right back.
Cool. Docket call is a series of cases that hits, and then you do like the next case in the order. And if you show up at 9, great, you're at the beginning of the docket. If you show up at 10:30, great, you're at the end of the docket. It doesn't really fucking matter. Like nobody's gonna get mad because the case just goes. You know, they're gonna be there from 9 to 11 or whatever anyway, because they have to process 60 cases, right? And so I'm like, oh, sweet, I got a docket call on Friday. It's at like 9 o'clock. And I'm driving in to the court, and I'm, on the way in, I'm like, I'm kind of hungry. Like, I don't really want to go to this docket call on an empty stomach, right? That would suck.
Right. That
I'm
would be
like,
horrible.
I was like, yeah, oh, look, an IHOP. Sweet. So I pull over, and I'm sitting at this IHOP. I order like I was gonna just get like eggs and bacon and maybe a cup of coffee or something, but I'm like, you know what? When was the last time I had a full breakfast? Never. Let's fucking live it up. And I order like full plate of pancakes, like eggs, bacon, the whole thing. I'm sitting down and I eat my breakfast, and it's delicious. I'm feeling really great about life. And I get up to go to my docket call, and my phone starts blowing up. And it's like 10 o'clock. It's my boss. And he's like, hey, are you all right? Like, yeah, doing good. On my way in. He's like, oh, that's great. That's great. Because why the fuck aren't you at court right now? And I said, Ed, it's a docket call. It's not going to be over by 10 o'clock whenever I get there. And he's like, it was a trial, you moron, not a docket call. And I was like, oh, well, that's problematic.
Oh,
so
man.
I hurried my ass there. The judge was not pleased. And, I told him, I was like, yeah, I screwed up. Thought this thing was a docket call. My fault. If you still are into it and you want to have a trial, like, I could totally do that. And he's like, yeah, you look like
you're into it.
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
I have this very specific fetish.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that was posed as like introducing a threesome to your wife.
Into it. Are you into it?
How about you, me?
I'm gonna impanel this jury all over your tits.
Yeah, you, me, the prosecutor, get together. We have a trial.
Quad dick you.
Yeah, baby. I'm gonna record it. It's gonna be the next big thing. So, anyway, I show up and the judge is like, nah, man, I don't want to have a trial. It's already 10 o'clock. Like, forget it. Like, we're just going to go on. He's like, out of curiosity, like, I know you missed the docket call. Like, where were you? What were you doing? I was like, oh, I was at IHOP. He's like, you were? I said, yeah. Like, I thought it was a docket call. I saw it on the way here, and I thought, breakfast seemed like a good plan. And he goes, all right. He goes, was it good? I said, it was really good, actually. It's like I just got out of there. It was like kind of got rushed because I got the phone call about not being here, so kind of put a damper on things. But it's like it was pretty good. And he's like, "What'd you order?" And I was like, "Oh man, blueberry pancakes, this, and this." And he's like, "That sounds really good. You're gonna buy me lunch." I was like, "Okay, let's go."
Right. Let's go to IHOP.
was like, so we went to IHOP. I had another cup of coffee. I bought the dude lunch. He called my boss and was like, this guy, I know he fucked up, Ed, but he's all right. He's all right in my book. You don't bust his nuts too hard because he's all right, dude. I was like, all right, sweet.
There you go.
And I got back and it's like, what the fuck did you do to that judge? He's such an asshole. And I think you're the only person he's ever said anything nice about. It's like blueberry pancakes.
You solved the world's problems right there.
It's like, man,
blueberry
that's all
pancakes.
it took.
Sounds like what we need to do is send blueberry pancakes over to Russia and Ukraine.
Dude, actually, I saw something that was kind of funny on Russia-Ukraine. One of the reporters, whenever Biden was first taking the thing, they're like, hey, do you think that your sanctions are stronger than Russian bullets, guns, and tanks? And he's like, yes. I'm like, oof. That's a rough answer. But honestly, I think it will absolutely snap, Russia's ability to do business moving forward and will completely undermine his own country's confidence in the war. It's not a bad idea, but
right.
Whatever. But I just saw that and I thought that was really funny because, I saw a cartoon that had a whole bunch of soldiers and then their guns all disappeared. And they all go, oh, the sanctions!
The sanctions they finally went through.
It's like, it's too funny. But anyway, all right. We're going to close out, but I want to first hear LS. What are your thoughts, Devil?
Okay, so the reason we don't know anything about it is because California has really, really funky NDA laws. Especially, I think it has to do with like Hollywood and TV. Like if somebody gets fired, you can't have them running about different productions or spoilers or other shit like that. So we're never going to get the story from him. We're never going to get the story from them until both sides have sort of lawyered up about the whole story. And by the time that happens, nobody will give a fuck. But what do I think happened? I don't know. Part of me wants to think that it's a practice culture issue in that I sort of think that the best argument that I have for what happened was teams are so used to sort of running plays 1 week. Like this week we're going to work on this type of thing and this is what we're going to do. And we're going to spend all week working on this particular thing. And I something tells me that that's not the way LS does things. And he's like very sporadic and wants to create adaptability. Because, if you want to compete at Worlds, the one thing that seems to be the biggest trend in success is the players that can adapt the best to the meta, both going into it for groups and then thinking one step ahead of the others. And some content I was listening to today it's about the card, you go to a Magic the Gathering tournament and the top 16 players all have the same deck, and then there are a few outliers that maybe make a few substitutions, and then there's one guy who has a deck that's just designed to beat the deck that they know everybody else is going to have. And something tells me that LS was busy trying to counter stuff more so than others. That's one theory. I don't know. I don't have any evidence. The other thing that I could think of is that maybe LS really wanted to stream a lot more than C9 wanted to let him. Because I did find it odd that he was doing VOD reviews of other organizations' games while he was still the head coach. I was like, this is kind of weird. And that may have been an issue. Who knows? It could have been a visa issue with Korea. He may have expected or wanted more long-term stuff. And who knows? Maybe that Korean D is just on point. Maybe he likes them Korean Ds. Them
Maybe.
Daughters, you know what I mean? He just can't get that LA booty the way he was getting them skins. But I mean,
I think
go ahead.
The one thing that I've seen that staff talked about before they let him go is I know that the players at one point complained that they had the first-time champions on stage because he was picking a draft that they weren't comfortable with.
And to me,
and
tough
so that's
titties.
Yeah.
interesting.
So
I
it's
think
spring.
it's the
Nobody
pro
gives a fuck
scene.
about spring. Like, this is the time to do shit like that.
That's
This
true
is the
too.
time to push comfort zone. What do you get for winning spring? You get a vacation to Iceland, and you get to play some world class talent. Don't get me wrong, but like, all you really have to do in spring is make playoffs. In the context of a regular season, all you really have to do is make playoffs. You can win if you're a team that's capable of winning the end of season or the tournament at the end of spring split. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be the first seed or the second seed. There's only 10 fucking teams in the league, and there's only 8 of them that get into the tournament. So it's not like, you're going to have to beat, if you want to go to MSI, you're going to have to beat Team Liquid. You're going to have to beat, well, we thought TSM. I guess you don't really, probably, they're not going to make it.
No,
You're going to
not
have to
even
beat
close.
you're going to have to beat Team Liquid. You know that they're on a crash course, and then probably another one is, somewhere in the midst is FlyQuest, EG, 100 Thieves. Those are all grouped into that. But let's just say 100 Thieves. You know you're going to have to beat these teams. It doesn't matter if you beat them in the finals or the semis. You know what I mean? So if you're first timing champs, great. Who cares? The goal of this, the whole point of this was to mix things up so that when it came time for Worlds, this squad would be built differently and could challenge Korean and Chinese supremacy in
Oh
the
no,
tournament.
I agree. What I'm saying is, I think that concept of like we need to be comfortable being ultimately flexible to be comfortable doing anything. I think that that flies in Korea, where the practice mentality is I'm gonna play a million games and be good at every champion. And if I play a million games and be good at every champion, and you say, you know what, Gwen's really strong right now. Okay, I already know how to play Gwen. Or if you say you're gonna play like Ivern mid, like, yep, I'm already fully versed on Ivern mid. Let's go. You know, but in America, they don't have that same kind of mentality. They would not feel comfortable doing that, and then you're going to end up in a situation where your coach is headbutting your players, and your players aren't going to have faith in their ability to perform on a champion their first timing. Is that a player problem? Yeah, I think it
No,
absolutely is a player
no.
problem.
In this context, I disagree. It's not a player problem.
What do
Like, I
you
mean, what do you
mean?
mean when you say player problem? I want to make sure we're on the same page.
I think it's the players' problem that they're not good at the champ.
Oh yeah, no, we agree. We agree. You're
Okay.
paid. You're paid money to do what you're told.
Yeah, it's the players'
And
problem.
if players are
Yeah.
complaining, I find it hard to believe that culture is really there when 3 out of the 5 players on your team are Korean. Like, Berserker Korean, Summit Korean, Winsome, I'm pretty sure was in Korea. Should know this stuff. And then you've got Fudge, who I don't know, but anecdotally seemed to be really good friends with LS before this ever happened. Is always on his streams. I would be shocked to find out that LS wasn't coaching him in some capacity, either privately with or without C9's knowledge. But I don't think Fudge makes the move to mid without LS sort of prodding him and believing in him and telling him he should do this, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they seem to have a very, very good relationship, which leaves the only person to really complain is Blabber. And I could see him complaining about not wanting to play Karthus. But so you dropped a game in the regular season.
Yeah,
Great.
and it's one game.
And you learned. Like that's great. You learn more from losses than you do
Right.
victories. The bottom line is your path is the same.
No,
And
no,
it's
no.
it's just so
Hold on, real quick. This is what I want to bring up about that. For the player's perspective, playing bad on a flex pick, they only get X amount of games a season to show what they can do. And their skill as a player, whether they stay around in an organization, whether they get picked up by a different organization, is entirely based on their performance each and every split. If they perform fucking terribly because their coach is essentially setting them up to fail from their point of view, then you're going to have essentially a player versus coach direction fight. And that may have exactly been this culture war that C9 is referencing in all of their shit. Like, we wanted you to do it this way, but you wanted to do it this way, so we didn't see eye to eye. And how, like, and that's kind of fucked up because C9, you know, or you should have known exactly what you're hiring. It was entirely predictable.
That's true. With the org being, I feel like the org has always had a history of like being like one of the popular esports orgs that's kind of like more of a chilled back culture, like laid back towards the players, and it's not as militant as like a place like TSM is, where you have to make the fucking cut or you whatever. But you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
feel like Cloud9 has always kind of been more of a less stringent uh, org. So I guess hiring LS and knowing who LS is maybe was a little questionable.
Well, what bothers me about it, and where it stings me the wrong way, is that they only got access to these players that are their best players because of LS. Summit is their best
That's
player
true.
and potentially
That's true.
the best top laner in the league, and he still hasn't hit his ceiling yet. Um, and you know, so breaking it down player by player in terms of these conflicts of the first time narrative performing poorly, like I find it hard to believe that Summit, Berserker, and Winsome and Fudge weren't bought into this whole thing. Number one, Fudge has proved himself last year. So I think he even if he underperforms at the mid lane, he's got a perfect storm of excuses to say, hey, yeah, I'm not the best mid laner, but I'm still probably one of the best top laners in NA. I can go anywhere I want. He could probably even go to Europe if he really wanted to. I find it hard to believe that Summit would have that same issue. He's proven he can play in NA. He now has the spot and is worth the import slot in NA. If not getting a spot in Korea where he could because he was just getting gatekept by people like Keen and Khan and or you know, fucking Nuggery. You've got the best top laners in the world in that league. And you know, I don't know about these other players. I don't know what Winsome's up to. Berserker looked great anyway, and that's the thing, they weren't losing. Like the only one who was really losing was Blabber. Blabber was the only one who's really sort of had a poor performance that cost them anything. Um, you know what I mean? But it just seems really like I think more will be revealed eventually, hopefully. But
Do
um,
either of you think that? I mean, I read, uh, obviously, I think it's probably more leaning towards kind of the maybe a personality clash or whatever along that lines. But do either of you think that it could possibly be something out of like I was reading something where it could have been something like from out of like left field, like maybe it's a legal issue, maybe it's like a very controversial issue, something like now this is by no means any sort of accusation towards him because I have it, no idea who this person who he is like in real life, but like something as serious as like talking to children or something like that, where the org just instantly like because the departure was really different. I feel like than
I don't think
other.
so because I
Okay.
think you would have seen individual players immediately distance themselves from him if it were something like that,
yeah, Fudge is
That's true
still on his
too.
stream.
and you don't see that, and you don't
Travis
see
still had
like
him
yeah you
on.
don't see
Travis
the
had him
league you don't
on Hotline League. He's still in the community, and that would be
Yeah,
something that you would get completely ostracized. Plus,
and I don't mean just like chill. I just meant like anything like to a legal point that an org like C9 would just instantly want to cut ties
to his
that fast.
credit, if it is something like that, his ass already went back to Korea. Smart fucking move. Get the fuck
Yeah.
out of the country.
Yeah, it could be something like financial, like insider trading or some shit like that. That they're like, hey,
nah
yeah, fuck,
I
A
don't
guy like
we don't
that
want to touch it.
doesn't care about money.
That's true
I
too.
mean, I just don't see that being his motivating force.
Right.
yeah I don't
I
think he
mean,
could be anything like
he
that
lives
I
in
just
a
thought it was
fucking
super like
shoebox in Korea and streams all day.
yeah
He's not a materialistic
you
guy
know
from what I can gather.
I
it
think
just seems so fast to me. You know.
I
That is the
honestly
weirdest thing is that they did it 3 hours before he went on stage,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
had to have known. And this is something that I heard them talk about last week on Hotline League. It's like they don't. Somebody was saying they don't have a PR team or they don't have. I'm like, what? Well, why not?
Yeah,
They're a
you're C9. You
multi-million
kind of
dollar
have to.
fucking league. Like you can't afford a $60,000 PR guy to be like, hey, why not just let him play out the weekend, and then we'll figure this thing out. It is sort of a giant red flag. But then again, what is everybody talking about? Talking about C9. So who knows? Maybe there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
Um, and C9, I mean, LS did get on and was like, hey, please support Max, please support the team, please support the org. Like, he is still very much wanting them to succeed and does not seem to be bitter about this, which lends me to think that either, because I don't think LS needs NA at all. He doesn't need any of these orgs. He's not beholden to any of them. He can go right back to Korea, which is exactly what he did, have some role with T1, and just milk the position that he's already put himself in as this great content creator and analyst and connected with Koreans and all this other stuff. Like he could have thrown C9 under the bus if he really wanted to. And not had, it wouldn't have damaged his career, because his career up until now has been based on Twitch.
And that's what surprises me, because when it comes to something like if they cut him because they were like, hey, you're just like not, you're being too mean or too like intense to the players, like I would feel like that's something that somebody like LS would maybe not throw them under the bus about, but would at least like say like, yeah, they just couldn't handle it or something along that lines. Like have like
I don't
give
think
some
he's
sort of
gonna,
hint.
I don't think he's going to give any explanation, because his only statement was, I'm handling everything through a lawyer and I'm keeping quiet about it until that's done.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do something like that, then
no, that's par for the course out there, man.
yeah, no, that's actually the smart thing.
It definitely is. Like California is definitely fucked up with red tape everywhere, but it seems like when you like make those types of statements like, hey, I'm not even touching this situation until I send everything through my lawyer. It maybe maybe it is just anything mundane will still go through a lawyer out in California, but it almost seemed like a really big issue, or like speculated to be. It was something in my head that I was thinking, if just it was so sudden like that and it's going through a lawyer team, everybody has to have a lawyer for this.
No, it's a contract lawyer. That's the lawyer he's going through. It's a contract lawyer, because he's got a very, very specific non-disclosure agreement written into his contract.
I see.
And I imagine C9 also had a very similar protection program, because in these types of situations, his reputation is everything. And what the difference between orgs like C9 and TL and TSM is that they do these things very, very layered, so that, I mean, it actually works out great for both parties, because then they can just blame their lawyers, which is what we're paid to do, to be blamed for everything.
And not listen to.
Yeah, like when my client stuck a gun on somebody's face on camera, and I had to tell a jury that he didn't do it. That was my fault. Which the Court of Appeals came back and said I was right. So, fucking A. Didn't help him out, but helped me out. I told you, Judge. That's a BB gun. It wasn't a real gun. State didn't make their burden. But he did stick that sumbitch in that motherfucker's face. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, so I think it's a contractual law. I think if there were criminal lawyers involved, the passports would have been snatched, and he would not be back in Korea, and he would be fucking in Panama, or changing his name. You find out just how lost that shadow is. His ass would be creeping.
You'd be in Panama Jack, the clothing store.
It's like all of a sudden, Panama's StarCraft 2 team is skyrocketed. It's like, wonder what happened.
Yeah, I mean, since there's no passport snatching, maybe it was just like an internal blow up or something where two players or
I honestly think that everything that I predicted would happen happened just way faster than I predicted it to happen.
I would say it's more subdued than the way that you predicted it. There's no big drama. There's no, like, you were expecting, like, I remember you being like, he's gonna he had a mental breakdown. It doesn't seem like that's the case.
There will be big drama. It's just all gated right now. It'll be big drama in like 3 fucking months, and somebody will leak something, and then somebody will, oops, I said it, but it doesn't really matter because it's been over forever. And then somebody else will say, well, yeah, he said that, but that wasn't right. This is actually what happened. And somebody will say, well, now, wait a minute. This is actually what happened.
Here's my counter to that, is that, like, I think that LS is a much more composed, much more forgiving, much more live and let live kind of guy than somebody like Doublelift. And Doublelift held on to the Reggie drama about his resignature and the whole sword art thing for like 6 or 7 months, and didn't even really spill the beans until Reggie kind of called him out and started talking shit and asked him to do it. So, I think in this business there is a much bigger propensity to sort of keep the secrets, to not air dirty laundry in public. And I think if anybody can do that, LS seems like the type of person that can do that. Jack Etienne can possibly be the one to do that. I mean, like,
you don't want to air dirty laundry unless it's on breaking point.
Yeah. Bud Light Ace.
Bud Light Ace.
You're all fired.
Your
What a great
organization.
moment that was.
Your organization just aced you.
We're gonna have to consider the fact that y'all are never gonna play professionally again. Just gonna let that sink in.
Bud Light Ace.
Hey, cameraman, can you get us here? Brox is crying. Get a zoom in on that.
Get a zoom in on that.
So the one tier.
That's right.
Dear God.
All right,
It's
guys.
like the kids. It's like the old videos from the '80s where they're holding the Snickers bar in front of the little starving African kid to get the good shot. Like, don't give him the sandwich yet. But
Just to
it's
get that Sarah McLachlan song right over
And don't
that
get me
sad
wrong,
face.
I want there to be drama. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that everybody's keeping their mouths shut. And it's just like the signs just aren't there for me. Like people are being way too cool about it. You know, it's I don't know. Maybe there's something.
That's
under the
true
water.
too. It's very quiet on both ends, where usually maybe there's like subtweeting or backhanded like things going on where both orgs are just both not orgs, both party and org is really just kind of hum about it.
And it's just so disappointing because I really did want to see this guy's philosophy
Oh,
in
yeah.
action. Like it's just like, come on, man. Like you know, and they were, you know, they're talking about how league viewership is down 34% again, when it was down last year, the year before that, and it's like it's because this narrative is the same fucking stale ass shit, and there's no
Well,
drama.
I think it's down because they got rid of like co-streaming completely, and other than for super weekends and for playoffs. I think that was the dumbest thing. Like it's actually so hard for me to watch like I just don't watch it live anymore. I'll watch the highlights sometimes, but like I love watching like double sneaky and Medios or Dom or something like that because
The
they
problem
bring like,
is those
comedy to it.
those co-streaming numbers don't actually factor into the broadcast, and so it may be that co-streaming was actually causing the 30% drop off because 30% of your audience was watching Sneaky Medios Double Lift.
Well, I thought the drop off happened after they got rid of co-streaming.
No, it's
That's
a
what
little
I
bit of
was-
both. It's kind of a chicken egg thing. We don't know
Okay.
whether, you know, and plus there's might be some backlash against them for getting rid of this great thing. I mean, the real solution is Riot should just have multiple channels and actually hire fucking these guys that people love to watch make content. And
That's true, but I just don't
do
think
that.
I don't think they want to be under like a contract and like have to be able to not say certain things. Like I feel like right now they can say kind of whatever they want. You know, like I feel like Riot won't want their names attached to Medios making cum jokes for 8 hours. You know,
I mean, the bottom line is, I think that sponsors want people to watch the fucking ads.
I agree, yeah.
If cum jokes get them there, as long as they're not like saying the N word or other things like
Well,
that,
Yeah, then go ahead
then,
and jizz
then
all
I
over
think
my
there's certain
face.
lines. But
Jizz all over my
I mean,
face.
like, I don't know. There's got to be a way to make that happen. My biggest gripe, and you talk about the highlights, is like I still don't understand. Like, they don't seem to understand how Americans are used to consuming sports stuff. Like I've never understood why they don't just make a sports center show like this instead of seeding out to Nvidia or whoever makes I can't remember the name of the company that makes the highlights. I watch the highlights too from time to time. Why not make a highlight show where you can, number one, help me build story context to create rivalries, to showcase players. You could show me academy highlights and sneak some of those in so that I have an idea of who the up and coming players are. You could bring in up and coming streaming talent and up and coming analysis talent and give them moments to shine without shoving them down my throat or making me think that, oh, why am I watching this turd when I could have Captain Flowers or some shit like that. Like they're totally missing this opportunity to cross. And you could put Valorant highlights in there. You could do all kinds of things and just try to cross pollinate the entire American Riot gaming spectrum and drive narrative, drive highlights. And instead, what do we get? Is a bunch of edited, chopped up bullshit that doesn't give us any of this stuff. Just put a little effort.
I think the reason
into
that it's so low effort is the same reason that NA didn't get fucking Champions Queue or any sort of extra server in this country for years, because Riot doesn't have as much interest in like NA. It's all, like most of their player base is like China and shit anyway, and they just don't care about NA talent and or like NA viewership as much. They do obviously because they have a production for it, but not to put in all of that extra effort and money. I feel like they just don't think it's worth it, which I disagree. I think it'd be very worth it, but
I don't get that impression at all. Like,
really,
oh yeah, like all the streams and everything are all pointed at NA. Like the reason that the others eclipse us is because LEC has better production, and that's because their people are funnier, better, and make better shit.
There's other reasons too.
Their,
I'll touch on
their
that.
teams are better. You know, you've
Mm,
got like, well, I mean, debatably they are, like, historically have been better.
yeah, in the
Um,
past they have a better track record for
I
sure.
mean, right
no, they
now
have
we're in
better
a kind of a
individual.
toss.
They have one team or two teams that are better.
Right.
Like they have one good super team, and that's starting to change now. We're not seeing that as much because it was just G2 or Fnatic. And yes,
Right.
they made it to the finals of Worlds, though, so they're better. But the rest of the squad, the 8 or 9 people that weren't those organizations, sucked ass.
Isn't Misfits like on the come up right now?
Misfits is looking pretty good.
Yeah.
They just
The Vitality super team is
Vitality
not,
That
Super
too.
Team is
Yeah.
well,
not doing it.
they're not doing it.
No.
They're already talking about trading humanoid or something. That's insane. So,
So
but anyway,
Yeah.
I think their production team is really good, and the content that they make is phenomenal. They have shocks, whatever. Um, but like the focus of the LCS has always been the LCS, right? That's why the EU was called the EU LCS for the longest time. It's like that's the EU version of what we're doing right here, you know. And I think that really, like, China, we, we didn't really get a whole lot of VODs early on, and then it kind of became something that you can actually watch. But all the eyes were on Korea as being the skill hub, NA as being the production, and EU as being like the alternative to NA. That so it was like NA has gotten probably more than its due of resources for skill. Also, we have venture capital and shit that throws tons of money into esports, where EU does not have that at
That's
all.
true. I guess that was a bad example that because I was more so I was touching on production and comparing it to like the server or champions queue, which is all skill or talent development based, which is that I will say I feel like they don't care about as much in NA production. I was 100% agree. NA production is the best only because I think NA has the best production overall and not just in league. Like what like great Chinese or Korean movies have you heard or seen like on
The rival
reviews or
of
something?
something that Hollywood is going to put out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So NA has like the best probably production I think out of most countries, depending on certain
mm,
aspects of it. But
Korea's on the come up on their movies, man.
that's true. That is true.
Korean
But that's
movies are
that
fucking good
that's
lately.
recent though.
Old Boy
That's like
That
was
within
is
the past
recent.
few
amazing.
years. Yeah,
I mean,
that is I
Parasite was one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
was it the movie
What?
Parasite.
Parasite,
Oh, I
yeah,
thought.
Oh,
about a con artist family.
Oh yeah.
That
I know
movie
what you're
was
talking about now. Yep.
fucking amazing.
Yeah, you are correct. The Korea is on the come up for that. I was more so referring to the how NA didn't. I wouldn't say doesn't care. They haven't implemented a new server up until this year. You know,
We
it just seems like we could actually be better and we could develop a culture that kind of has like Korea or Asian vibe to it, where it's like it's a grind fest. Like that's what they do, and in NA, it's kind of hard to commit to
Well,
that because when you're on 60 ping,
yeah. So I mean, the problem with NA has always been a size thing.
Yep.
The advantage of Korea is we have about the same player base in, a state or a country that's the size of like Missouri. So
yeah,
like
that's true.
you can be anywhere in that country and have between 16 and 23 ping. So everything is about mechanical outplays and skill expression because lag isn't a factor and you're not gated by infrastructure. Whereas in America, if we want the entire country to play on the same server, we have to put it in the middle of the country, which means that the LCS and the venues out there that have all been invested in on the West Coast are going to be at a ping disadvantage versus if we host the servers on the West Coast and then everybody on the East Coast is totally fucked. The alternate solution is you go East Coast, West Coast, EU West, EU
Yeah, that's what I
Central.
was gonna say. That comparison, EU West and EU and E, they've got that. I just don't know why NA, who's a huge contributor to League, I feel like, um, in certain areas, I should say, certain areas.
Yeah, but I think if you did that,
Here,
it would still be that NA West would be the server that matters.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you want to be a pro player.
And here the
for sure.
I want to touch on something that Blake was talking about. Not only do you have a country that's, reduced and you have concentrated skill, with lower ping, but the way they play and where they play matters too, in my opinion, because Americans are playing in their bedrooms. Koreans are going to PC Bang. So, you go to the dojo to play this game, and 3 seats over is Mr. Badass, who you can develop a rivalry with, who you can watch, who you could potentially or become a friend with, and have physical sort of face-to-face interaction with the people who are the ballers in your community. You know, it's the difference between playing poker in Vegas with all the legends and playing poker online. You play poker online, you disconnect, you're in Nebraska or wherever the fuck you are, it doesn't matter. But like, if you're in Vegas after a game, you can go get coffee or drinks with somebody and
shrimp.
You can develop, yeah,
shrimp,
so, shrimp, that too. You get blueberry fucking pancakes. Another option.
If you're looking to make friends, yeah.
Yeah. So
or
I think
Canada Dry ginger ale.
That's the other thing. The other thing I think that what we're lacking that I think Europe has over us is sort of the regional rivalries. This is the only sport in America that's played in where all the teams are in the same city. They're all roughly from the same place. I know the Vulcans from Canada. I know that we have imports from Europe, but I don't know where. You know what I mean? There's no regional rivalry. Whereas, if you live in Europe, Carlos is from Spain. So if you are a Spanish person, you might attach to that. And you might say, oh, well, this team's owned by this guy. So I have this sort of regional pride attached to this organization. I have this connection to it. Or maybe
like back in the day when you had like the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yes. Or maybe you're I think Finnish is where he's from. Maybe you're a Finn and you're super into caps, or you're super into Yamato cannon.
They're Danes.
The Danes, that's it. The Danes, the Danish players, maybe you're really into this sort of thing, and you've got these different sort of, even though it's one continent, you've still got this sort of nationalistic pride and rivalry built into the identities of these organizations, and particularly the identities of these players, whereas almost every American we just assume is from LA because we don't care. Like, I don't know where any of these people are from. I don't care. I don't have any connection to any particular one of them. And that's what's so difficult too, is that like there's so much turnover and players leaving after this period. It's very difficult. I think Americans, built into our sports culture, do have this idea of loyalty. Like, you're supposed to pick your team and that's your team. You're supposed to be loyal about this. We don't like, people that hop around, at least especially for we're North Carolina where I live, you got Duke UNC, and it's like, no, fuck you. Like, fuck, I'm a Duke fan. Fuck Carolina. Fuck Carolina till the day I die. I don't even watch college basketball, but fuck Carolina. That's just the way it is. And people understand that. And there's not that same, there's no connection when I'm a Double Lift fan and then TSM fucks Double Lift. It's like, well, shit, how am I supposed to like this organization? And then, well, Double Lift goes to TL, and then Double Lift kind of fucks himself and gets kicked off of there. So it's like, well, but I still like TL, and I'm in this weird position where I don't know. I just kind of like all the teams except for TSM. And even though I do have a TSM t-shirt, you know what I mean? It's like, that was before the whole shit hit the fan, but it's like we have these loyalties to players, and then we sometimes have these really shifting loyalties to the orgs, but at the end of the day, we've been getting shit on in World so much that really we just really want to see NA do something.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? That's why the LS thing hits hard, because it's like, man, we really thought that we were going to do something different. Even if it crashed and burned.
I had high hopes for LS and Worlds. I thought there could have been maybe not even this year, but at least making it to Worlds and then showing something promising for next year. But
I was almost of the guaranteed belief that Zeppelin would crash and burn before he ever got to Worlds.
I mean, it's still, to me, if that team does anything, he still gets the credit for it. He put it together.
That's true too.
And they couldn't have done it without him. They wouldn't have even gotten in the same room with Berserker if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah, I wonder how Berserker's feeling after this.
He's so young, he doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to win. I mean, like,
That's
those
true.
players don't care who's teaching them. They just want to get better. I mean, and contractually, he's stuck here no matter what. I mean, that guy's... those Korean players have so much on their plate just from a cultural shell shock position that it's like, they're just, you know, and I hope that they're of the mindset that they're just grinding and they don't really care. Because I would assume that the head coach of that organization is more draft-based and an overseeing, and most of them are getting coached on their individual lanes by assistant coaches, I would assume. So.
Okay.
But it's been an interesting season, though. I'm looking forward to seeing it play out.
That is a word for it. Interesting.
You know, speaking of interesting and the dude playing out, JJ Jones. You may know JJ is the guy with the biggest dick in the world. But we know him around here as JJ, the patron supporter of the podcast. Thanks, JJ. Try to be careful where you're walking so you don't knock someone out with that swinging ass sausage kielbasa you're rolled around with.
Don't trip.
Yeah, don't do it. I can't talk right now, or I would say more kind things about JJ and his monstrous dong.
I think the voice enhances it. It makes it better.
Yeah.
It does.
Like, yeah, I once cast JJ for a pornography film.
You gotta say
because he was
pornographies.
so
Call
down.
it plural if you're doing the skis. Pornographies.
The thing about JJ that set him apart from the others is that he could come about 4 times in succession. We never had to take a break from shooting. It wasn't a problem. He could just go.
I'm glad you said that word, succession, because it made me think of something I was thinking about earlier about how is Reggie still, you were talking like, how is he still in charge? Somebody needs to make a spoof of the HBO series Succession trying to take TSM from Reggie. I don't know if y'all watch that show. It's fucking fantastic.
I have not, but any attempt to take TSM from Reggie, I am in full support of.
Any attempt to make a show I like. Alright, with that, I'm gonna sign out for y'alls. Good nights, everybody's.
Good night, everybody.
Alright. We only managed to go an hour and 32 minutes.
No, that's good. That's normal, right? We usually go an hour and a half, right?
Yeah, we always do. Yeah. Oh. Let's see if we can get the audio up here. Oh, by the way, the stream's still going. We're still BSing.
We're fucking around.
Oh, yeah, we always do the stream on while we render the audio. It usually doesn't take this long to render the fucking audio, but here we are. Also, the audio
What up, Astros? I was just noticing you.
The audio render completely covers your face, Aero.
Oh, does it?
Oh, yes. And boom.
That was definitely good. I feel it was a good first podcast.
Yeah. I only have one piece of feedback, and that's don't be afraid to jump in. You sat silent for a long time.
I was gonna ask. I didn't want to be too noisy. That was the one thing that I was trying to stay away from. That I figured
there's
better for me to
no such thing between me and him as someone else who's gonna be noisy by comparison.
That's true.
You don't have to worry about that.
I figured it was better to play it safe by being like less quiet or less noisy than more noisy.
If anything, I wanted you to talk more today so I could talk less.
I tried to also do that when I noticed you were struggling. I tried my best to get in there and like kind of give your voice a break, but
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
that.
mean, like, it's just a weird situation because I haven't been on the cast in like 3 or 4 months, so this is my chance to get a lot out and give the people what they really want, which is, my
Yeah,
opinions.
which is him.
And
yeah, what they really want.
Okay, I'm gonna cut the stream there before this gets any worse.
yeah.